Finding the absolute best international ETF is definitely a tough one to crack. They usually tend to do better when the US market is not doing so hot. Like this year, in 2025, the S&P 500's up about 10% so far, but in that same time period, VXUS, which is one of the most invested in international ETFs, is up over 20%, so up over double. If we look at the past 5 years though, VXUS is up a total of 33%, whereas the S&P 500 is up almost 3 times as much at over 90%. When I looked up some of the best performing international ETFs over the past decade, here's what I found. KWEB is China Internet, which in the last 10 years is up 267% or almost 14% per year annualized. EZA is South Africa. That one's up 232% over the last 10 years and a 12.8% annualized return. The 10-year return on those bottom two are not that great, but the top three look solid, so I dive deeper, especially into that KWEB. And wow, year to date, it's up even more than VXUS and way more than the S&P 500 at over 26% just this year. But then I checked the 5-year, down negative 44.8%. Ouch. And looking at this max chart of about 12 years, it really is flat overall with a couple spikes. That huge spike in 2021 is throwing off the average for that 10-year return and the approximate annualized return. So when looking into ETFs, don't just look at the one that has the highest amount of return and then also has the highest annualized return, because that just means the average in some crazy event could be throwing off that average. So go and look at the actual chart and look at what's actually making that ETF do that. I'm looking for solid, sustainable growth that'll keep on happening. So I'm going to give you some information on 4 more international ETFs and get the research started out for you. At the end, I'm going to tell you which one I like most and how I'm investing in international exposure. Let's get after it. My name's Nolan Govea, my students call me Professor G, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. So VXUS, it's easily one of the biggest and most famous international ETFs. Like I said before, VXUS is up over 20% this year to date. If we look at the past 5 years though, VX is up a total of 33%. The fee is only 0.05%, so very low fee. Looking at the chart, it's basically flat with a bit of an increase this year, which will be something you're going to see with all these ETFs today. In April of 2011 though, the price was around $52. Then the price went up slightly, then back down over the next 10 years. And in 2023, 12 years later, you'd still be at that $52, $53 range. Only recently has the international market jumped a bit. The types of companies in this ETF are from emerging markets, Europe, Pacific, North America, and then a very small bit in the Middle East. The top 3 countries are Japan, United Kingdom, and China. The top holdings are Taiwan Semiconductor, Tencent, ASML, SAP, and Alibaba. Since inception, this fund has grown at about 5% per year for the past 14 years. Year to date looks good, but make sure and look at that full picture. The next 3 international ETFs all have something very interesting and specific about each one. But first, thank you to Outskill for sponsoring this video, and they're offering a 2-day AI mastermind happening this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. 2 days with expert mentors, 16 hours of learning, 10 plus AI tools. You go from an AI rookie to an AI pro and stay relevant for the next decade. Now here's the exciting part. This training normally costs $895, but I've partnered with Outskill, the world's biggest AI education platform, to give away 1,000 free seats to my loyal viewers for the next 72 hours. This AI mastermind has been attended by 4 million people across the globe in the last 12 months who've gone to using AI, building with it, getting salary hikes, and being promoted with it. In this training, you're going to get in-depth knowledge on a wide range of topics, including learning the language of AI, using AI in Excel, developing AI agents, and building apps and websites. If you sign up right now using the link in my description, you also get bonuses worth $5,000, which includes a prompt Bible with 3,000 plus prompts when you attend day 1, roadmap to make money with AI when you attend day 2, and your personalized AI toolkit builder if you attend both days. In fact, I'm getting all of my team to go and attend this workshop, and I would definitely recommend that you do the same. So make sure your calendars are cleared for the weekend. The training's scheduled for this coming Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both days. And also make sure to join their WhatsApp community to get all updates. The next international ETF is not near as famous as VXUS, but it is one that some of my more wealthy clients have been investing into, and I actually definitely like this much better. The fund seeks to track the investment results of an underlying index composed of equity securities of developed markets outside the United States with relatively high yield and low price and earnings volatility. This one is LVHI, the Franklin International Low Volatility High Dividend Index ETF. This is all about finding a fund that has low volatility but still has a high cash flow in the form of a dividend. The fee is 0.40%. For the past 5 years, it's returned an average of almost 16% per year. Since its inception of almost 10 years, it's returned almost 10% on average per year, twice as much as VXUS. I just really like the very strict rules that this ETF has in how it picks the companies that are within the actual ETF. The index screens for profitable companies that have the potential to pay relatively high sustainable dividend yields. Yields of the remaining securities are then scored higher or lower based on the attractiveness of their price and earnings volatility. The portfolio is constructed to have the highest scoring securities subject to concentration limits. No individual component of the index will exceed 2.5% of the index. No individual sector will exceed 25%. No country will exceed 15%. No individual geographic region will exceed 50%, and real estate investment trusts components as a whole will not exceed 15%. The underlying index components are reconstituted annually and rebalanced quarterly. The top regions are Canada, the United Kingdom, and Japan. The top sectors are financials, energy, and industrials. And as you can see, the vast majority of the companies are huge, with over 70% of the fund in companies $25 billion or larger. This keeps volatility down and keeps the fund constant. These are the top holdings, and of them I like Suncor a lot, Shell of course, Alliance, Mitsubishi, and these Canadian companies have also been crushing it lately. Now remember, a huge strength to this fund is its dividend at about 3.65%, but when investing in foreign ETFs, remember that there's going to probably be extra taxes or foreign taxes, so definitely look into that. Specifically, the buildup of the dividend here is important to keep in mind for taxes. It shows almost 50% to the foreign source income, meaning ordinary income, so a higher tax for that. 45% or so will be taxed at the qualified dividend rate. Foreign dividends are subject to taxation in both the country where the company is located and potentially in your home country, which could lead to double taxation. Make sure to take all of this into consideration when investing abroad. This is one reason why I have most of my clients that want exposure, specifically internationally, to keep these within a retirement account, an IRA, Roth IRA, wherever, because in a taxable brokerage, you're probably going to get taxed pretty hard. The next one on this list is favorable in so many different categories. Most international funds have very high expense ratios, but this one has an expense of only 0.04%. It's called BKIE, and it's the BNY Mellon International Equity ETF. This one has a dividend of 2.83% and has had a year-to-date return so far in 2025 of over 22%. It's only been around about 5 years, but since inception, the average return is 13.49% per year. BKIE tracks the sole active GBS Developed Market X United States Large and Mid-Cap Index, providing diversified exposure to large and mid-cap equities across developed economies, Europe, Asia, Canada, and others. The fund holds close to 1,000 stocks, heavily weighted towards blue-chip large-cap firms like ASML, SAP, Nestle, Novartis, HSBC, and Toyota. This results in a focused but diversified portfolio. I really like the low fee, the diversified portfolio, and the solid return in the 5 years or so that it's been around. And now here's the last one on this list, and then I'm going to tell you which one I like most and how I'm investing in international exposure for my portfolio personally. This last one has a staggering almost 52% gain in the last year. It's called the iShares MSCI Europe Financial ETF, EUFN. The dividend on this one is great at around 4% in the trailing 12-month yield. It has very strong PE and PB ratios at a PE of 12.38 and PB of 1.48. The fee is 0.48%, so definitely higher. EUFN offers direct, diversified exposure to Europe's financials, including banks, insurers, and diversified financial firms. This makes it an efficient, one-stop tool for tapping into the performance of the region's financial industry. Now this one is tough because when we look at the 1-year chart and even the 5-year chart, things look very good. But then when we look at the max chart here, this looks less fun. Lots of big dips and overall flat. In 2010, the price was at $21, and still in 2024, 14 years later, the price is at $21. So you would have made nothing on the price appreciation, but you would have earned dividends the whole time. Only recently has this thing skyrocketed, kind of like all the other ETFs I showed in this video. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's done very well in a high rate environment in Europe. But now that they're going to probably start cutting rates just like they've been doing in the UK and like we're about to be doing here in the United States, we're going to have to see how this type of ETF does in a lower rate environment. So of all of these, which is my favorite? My favorite, number one out of all of these, is BKIE. I really like the super low fee. I like the return over the past 5 years on average, and especially this year. And I like that they stick to developed markets, so the volatility is very low. So how do I invest in international exposure within my portfolio? At this point, I don't have any specific ETF for just specific international exposure alone. In my almost 20 years or so of research into financial markets and specifically into large cap broad ETFs, it's been enough for me to understand that our companies here in the United States take enough market share from all over the world. Nvidia is sold everywhere. Microsoft is sold everywhere. McDonald's and Walmart and Procter & Gamble are all sold worldwide. Estimates vary slightly, but around 28 to 41% of S&P 500 companies' revenue come from international markets. While all companies in the S&P 500 are listed in the US, many operate globally and derive a substantial portion of their sales from other countries. This means that even by investing in a US-focused index like the S&P 500, you're still getting significant exposure to international economies. If you look at the long-term return on most of these international specific ETFs, they're just not great. Most of them are more like VXUS with like a 5% per year growth rate. That's not really enticing, and so I'd rather stick to my 3-fund portfolio that has a lot of international exposure because they're selling to literally the entire world. It's just those companies are the ones that are growing the most. That 3 ETF portfolio is a buy and hold forever, super simple portfolio that anybody can do, and so to learn more about that, watch this video here where I go over all of it and even tell you the specific buildup and makeup based off of your age, because it does change with age. Or if you've already watched that one, watch this video to keep you going strong in investing. Remember to keep investing simplified.